This is a clip from one of our most recent episodes. For full episodes and more, please check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and YourVibesPodcast.com. This episode is brought to you by The Station. The Station is downtown Dixon's premier event venue. Located inside historic Mulberry Mill, The Station is a perfect space for a wedding or reception, birthday party or baby shower, conference or class, photo or video shoot, and even a live music performance. Just a quick 45-minute commute from Nashville, Clarksville, and Columbia, The Station provides your guests with a classy and convenient experience in the heart of downtown Dixon's up-and-coming environment. To book your next event, please contact Andy Truman at 336-693-4311 or email her at events@mulberrymilldixon.com.
But now you're back to this amazing energy that runs this planet and how it's all knowing, and we're part of that, and it's way more than we understand even close at this point. So
I feel like it's really easy though, in the sense of, I've asked this question, is if you would identify yourself as a spiritual, religious, whatever you want to identify yourself as, and you actually do believe that this innate, this God, this whoever you want to refer to them, created us, then why do you think it wasn't done intelligently? Like, that's what I don't understand. And I've asked that question. Like, there's no bit of me that doesn't think that my God that I believe in, that I think created me, screwed up or left out some COVID vaccine or didn't put enough, Zoloft in me. Like, it's true, though. It's like, if we're going to talk about this and be true, like, is that really the God you believe in? Like, sure. He was an idiot and screwed up and didn't give you enough of all these drugs and chemicals. And then, it's crazy because I believe God designed me intelligently, but that's just my God.
Well, and put us in a situation that gave us all potential to succeed in life, but also knew that free will is the only thing that we need. It's just like Adam and the apple in Eve, is that, he put all these, but don't eat from here. But he couldn't create the Garden of Eden without the forbidden fruit tree, because there is no power of choice when you don't have one. Like, if everything is just good, then everything's just good, but you can never grow in a full state of order. You've got to have, back to the yin and the yang, you've got to have that chaos within your life in order to really figure out who you are and who you can be, because growth only happens in chaos. That's it, period. Absolutely. You walk the border of those two fissures and realize that when shit's going south, that order can emerge, which is the little white dot, at any time. You just trust God's plan, that you're in the right moment, in the now moment, and things happen for you, not to you. Right? Isn't that right? And but if you get into too much order, you're going to go insane. But you've got to have it as a foundation. But if you get into too much chaos, it's tyranny, and you're just going to go fucking mad as well. So you just kind of, and people are like, Michael, why are you so crazy? I was like, because I do spend a lot of time in the chaos, and then I'll spend some time in the order, and it's just like back and forth, and then you just kind of learn to straddle that line at all times. Right. You're on the leading edge of creation at every point in time.
People think they shouldn't have problems. That's the biggest problem we have, is that if there are no problems, those problems, when you change your mindset and you realize that those problems are a gift, and it's in those challenges that we have where the most amount of growth happens. So if we never had a challenge or a problem to grow from, we would never go to the next level. And right. So, I love you. I use that saying a lot, that, life is happening for us and not to us. Like, it's exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
And that the now moment manifestations, the moment that we're living right now, are delayed reactions of our past thoughts and actions. Like, there's a catch-up game to this here. It's not like, what you experience now is where your mindset was however long ago, however long it took to manifest. Like the other day, I was telling somebody about this, is that there was a pile of dog shit in my yard, and I neglected to pick it up. And but as soon as I stepped over it, I was like, I'm going to step in that. I need to do something about that. forgot about it, went about my day. 2 days later, doing the same thing, stepped right in it, bare feet. I'm talking, but that's the thing is, like, I didn't even question that narrative. There was no resistance to that thought whatsoever. There was a sense of knowing that at some point I was going to step in that dog crap, and I did, But it's the same thing, like, there's this sense of knowing that things are going to go a certain way for you once you can kind of get yourself in alignment of just letting life be and knowing that things are going to work out, in a manner. They may not be exactly the way that you think they need to work out, though. It's this hero's journey of just starting, going out, getting interested in something, finding a mentor or somebody that's interested with you so you can kind of pick up the knowledge you don't know, and then going and defeating your dragon, which is guarding your gold of your goal there. I mean, you go and you finally get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm ready to take this on, like this podcast. Like, it took a lot for me of people talking to, and some nerves of like putting my opinion and suggestion and figuring out an interview. But then you finally go and you defeat your dragon and you continue on, and then started doing trivia. There goes another hero's journey kind of thing. You just break it down into where feelings of stress, anxiety, doubt, guilt, shame, like those shouldn't be real emotions in the first place. I mean, we can get into the Tony Robbins stuff of like how he starts his morning of just like, it's not necessarily a meditative state, because you correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, is that he's feels that you can't necessarily really quiet. I mean, you can quiet the mind, but it's more about empowering your day to start off. Right?
I mean, Tim Ferriss, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's got a book that he recently wrote, The Tools of Titans. And what was really cool in that book is he interviewed several hundred people from, millionaires, billionaires, athletes, and what he found is he said, if you win the morning, you win your day. Like, that morning ritual is so important of what you do. And what was interesting is he found there was 5 things that these people that had success from all areas, whether it was athletes, actors, famous people, whatever, is they did 5 things. And what was interesting, Michael, and I share this with a lot of people, is those 5 things, I was like, oh, this is going to be like really big stuff, right? But what they were, the first thing is making their bed. The next was getting some sort of movement and reps. It was hydration, because we all wake up dehydrated, water. Meditation, so whether that be meditation or prayer. And then the last thing was 5 to 10 minutes of like reading / journaling. But these were the things that these people from all areas, all walks of life, all across the world that had the most amount of success, they did these things consistently. And, we know success leaves clues. So I always say, if you want to be successful, you might as well copy the things that successful people are doing. And it's simple stuff. It wasn't like
it's not life-changing stuff.
Yeah,
people.
I mean, we're talking like feeding the mind, doing some movement, hydrating. I mean, and that's what is taught, is if you can win your morning, the rest of your day goes good, is starting with, I heard this quote, it was cool. It said, rituals plus routine equals peak performance. So like with the Olympics just this past summer, is there's certain rituals those athletes, those people that have success do as part of their routine day in and day out, but that's what gets them to that level. So us as humans, it's like, if you want to be to that next level, what are some of just like that really simple basic things that you can implement in your life that would take you to the next level? And it may be something as simple as making your bed and hydrating and reading for 10 minutes in the morning. I mean, it's not hard stuff.
It's creating order within the chaos. It's something so simple. At least you've got something to go back to. At least you can say, I accomplished something. I made my bed. I woke up and drank water, which with me, I do pink Himalayan salt and lemon every morning. At least I took some self-care and meditated, and then at least I elevated my heart rate to get my blood going. And then I throw in a cold shower every morning too, just because that fucking slams every vital organ. It boosts your immune system, and you feel great when you get out, dude. Like, people are like, would you take a cold shower every morning? Hell yeah. Like, I'll do a little warm shower. I'll clean out all my system. And then I'll just slam it on cold for like 3 minutes and just stand there, and I'll wash my body, let it run just right down my spine and just hit that vagus nerve all the way down, and it just shoots and your hands tingle and you get out and you just feel like a champ. I don't even really need coffee in the morning anymore. Like, I've after starting cold showers about a year and a half ago, I'll drink coffee occasionally if I've got like a coffee meeting or something, but I don't even need it
Have
anymore.
you followed Wim Hof?
Oh yeah, the Wim Hof breathing methods. That guy's insane.
He's
That's what I
That
said. She
guy
told me
is
she wants me to go do Wim Hof, and I'm
insane.
like, I don't know that I want to get naked
when
and
you
walk through the
see
snow.
him though, like for real, he guides these people, which goes into like we could come back and do a whole nother podcast
Mm-hmm.
on this. Is like the power of the mind. But I mean, just getting in this state where yes, they are in the mountains in snow,
Shorts
barefoot,
and, barefoot.
but it's about your state. It's about
Mm-hmm.
controlling the mind. It's the breathing. And I don't know if you've seen the video where he dives in this hole like under the ice
Mm-hmm.
and he swims and he actually can't find the hole, so he's under there like way longer and he finally finds it, but it's like,
Could have died.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in this calm, just like obviously if you panic, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about and it's fascinating to me when you start into all that of just the power we do have with our mind and what we can control.
My state was not good this past Tuesday and Wednesday because I got up and I was complaining because it was 31 degrees and that was really cold to me.
But
I was not born in Canada. I don't handle that stuff.
you don't have it in your DNA to do that.
No.
But you're absolutely right. And people, obviously I'm a little weird. And I'm starting to, people such as yourself, we can resonate with some of these conversations, but some people can't. But they're just open to it. And after trivia last night, I was having a conversation with someone, and they actually cried a little bit. I don't know if I should feel bad or not, but
You made him cry.
I think I broke something, a neurological connection in their brain throughout the conversation. But there was an issue that had come up, and to each their own on how you deal with your issues. But I just looked at him and I said, "You're choosing to feel this way. I mean, you're absolutely making this choice, and you're letting this external situation control your internal environment." And to me, that's the definition of insanity. Like if you're allowing something or someone to do something to you, who was it that had was it Epictetus? I can't remember who had the quote, but it said, "Those who anger you will soon become your master." Because they're the puppeteer of how your emotions work. And it kind of seems a little. Not really, what's the word for it? Sociopathic almost. When I tell people, I don't need you, I don't need my kids, I don't need my wife, I don't need my dogs to make me feel a certain way. Like I just feel how I feel. Now, obviously, there are these kind of ebb and flows in relationships and how they need to function symbiotically and coherently, but. And that other person may need to kind of, in order for things to work, like in a forest, the undergrowth typically dies out and the bigger trees kind of take over, but they all work together kind of thing. And everything just balances out. But, some people rely way too much on other people's thoughts about them. How does other people think about me? What are other people going to think about what I do? Or somebody does something and it pisses you off, and then your whole body goes into this completely different state. And then it got into the point where I was like, you're having this issue right here. I'm living in my own little world, yet we're sitting right next to each other and we're having two completely different experiences of this entire situation. It's like you're almost in a different dimension. You know what I mean?
It's the meaning he gave to it.
I would say that literally what you just touched on is probably how she ended up being a Tony Robbins coach. And I will say is one of the most powerful concepts out there, which is, it wasn't Tony Robbins that I originally heard it from. I actually think it was probably Wayne Dyer that I actually heard it from originally. Awesome. Yeah, and he explained it like this. He said everything is an event. It's not a positive event. It's not a negative event. It's an event. It's just an event. What makes it positive or negative is our own thoughts and stories around that. And her and I had some conversations about that early on. And anytime you bring that up, if it's somebody's first time to hear it, they're like, I can't wrap my head around that. I don't know what you're talking about. Because they always go to this extreme and they say, well, what if my kid died? Like, that's bad. Like, that's not me defining it as bad. That is bad. And, of course, that's very difficult to come back with and discuss it because you say, yes, it is bad, and everybody would be upset about that. And obviously you're going to mourn and grieve, and everybody's going to do that on your own. But ultimately, at some point, you do get to define that event. And there are people who have a child die and they move on to they use that as a booster to do amazing things. That's how Mothers Against Drunk Drivers came about. That's how all these things, there's people that go through a trauma and they define it in a way that gives them motivation and positivity, and they do something amazing with it. Or, my parents were drug addicts, I was homeless, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, I even saw a post on Facebook not too long ago. It had two people, one sitting there with a suit and eating a salad or whatever. And one guy was like homeless, and at the top it said something to the effect of, the reason I am what I am is because my father was an alcoholic. But it had two different, one was successful, one wasn't. It's all dependent on the story that you want to create around that, which is powerful for your marriage and relationships. It's powerful for your business. It's powerful for your happiness. Just like you were saying, nobody else can make me happy or sad or mad. They only can if I give them control by the story I want to tell myself, which is not something that's just easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to tell myself a great story. We all still get triggered and lose our shit at different times. But you can sit back and be like, is that really how I want to define that? Right. And you can redefine it however you want to. Which brings us to what we talked about earlier, which is just living a beautiful life.
Yeah, being in a beautiful state. I just listened to a podcast yesterday that was amazing, and I've heard it before, and it's about living in a beautiful state. And what we know when we talk about emotions is that our emotions, there's three things. Number one is we control our focus. So there's a saying I've learned and use a lot is where focus goes, energy flows. So back to that energy we've already talked about is like what you're focused on is what you feel. And so you can change that focus. You can change it in a matter of seconds. And then the next thing to the focus is the meaning, which Chad said is what meaning do you give to that event? I mean, you can have something happen and we're meaning makers. We make up meanings all day long. I mean, if I'm at home tonight making dinner waiting on Chad, and Chad's not there, and he's late, and he doesn't show up, and I give it the meaning of he's in a wreck, or he's cheating on me, or, I mean, those meanings are going to create a physiological response in my body. They're going to make me feel really bad. But I could also give the meaning of he's meeting with Michael, or he's doing some work, or he's at the practice. So we get to choose the meaning. And the meaning we give to things is so powerful. And as humans, we like to give shitty meanings to things that don't serve us. Like, they don't empower us. And then beyond that is, then what action do you take? What do you do with that? And so, as Chad said, I work with people all the time and teach on this is in that moment, like you said, you're in control. You get to choose the meaning that you give to it. So give it a meaning that serves you. I mean, both of us have had, all of us, you as well, I'm sure. We've all had past traumas, experiences. I've gone through a divorce. He's had his issues, But you can look at that, and I have taken my divorce of like, in the midst of it, it sucked, yeah, but like, look at what it brought me. Look at the growth I've had from that. I met this amazing guy. Like, I have become such a better person in the midst of, back to what we said, thinking we don't have to have problems. Well, if I wouldn't have had that problem in that moment in my life, it wouldn't have brought me to where I am now. So I'm grateful for that. And when you understand as a human being that you do get to choose, it's totally empowering. Like, you get to choose. Do you want to give it a meaning that serves you or a meaning that puts you in a suffering state? And from moment to moment, you can choose to be in a beautiful state. You might have something happen and in that moment be in a suffering state, and that's okay. I'm not saying you're never going to, have sadness or pain or anger or frustration. But then at that moment, when you identify and you have this conscious awareness that you are in a suffering state, it's then what action, like, what do you do beyond that? If you would have talked to me 5-10 years ago, Michael, I would have stayed in that suffering state for days, sometimes weeks, if it was something that really pissed me off. Where now I have the conscious awareness that, okay, I'm in a suffering state. I want to be in a beautiful state. That's how I want to live my life. What can I do to change? What's my focus? What am I thinking about? What are my beliefs? What am I saying in my head? How powerful our thoughts are of what we say to ourselves. Powerful. Are we saying empowering things, or are we saying things that disempower us to make us suffer? It's really actually quite simple. It's like going to the gym. You got to build that muscle and use it and do it. And the more you do, then the more beautiful you'll be.
Well, and you have to, y'all being doctors, you have to get into the data. Like that for me, like this metaphysical concept of what all we're talking about was good, great, and wonderful. Like I kind of was starting to resonate with it and was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. But then I started getting into the data of studies, like Dr. Emoto in the 90s did The Secret of Water. Have y'all seen that?
Yes.
I have that book.
Unbelievable.
The
how
emotions and how the ice
the crystallization of the ice. Solely based on his thoughts onto the water and the impressions.
Or music. Back to vibration.
Exactly. On
colors.
And then you can, and this is getting into why people's default neural network goes into this stress hormone all the time, or thinking negatively about themselves. And this gets back into the quote unquote bad people as well too, because fear porn all over the TV. Okay. And we all know everything goes back up to like 6 major corporations, and really 2, BlackRock and Vanguard own 95% of America, so they're in charge of everything. But it goes back into, if it bleeds, it leads. Reality TV shows of nothing but drama. TV sitcoms of cheating and family drama. Like it's these. Well, at least my life's not as bad as those people fucking concept. You know what I mean? And that's their baseline. It's like, how do they feel? Well, at least I don't feel as bad as these people. Thanks again to the station for sponsoring this episode. If you are looking to book your next wedding or reception, baby shower or birthday party, conference or class, photo or video shoot, or even a live music performance, please reach out to Andy Truman at 336-693-4311 or shoot her an email at events@mulberrymilldixon.com. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, please reach out to me directly via email at yourvibespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and always remember, stay vibey, my friends.